Yeah.
If you know what I mean, like if you yet. I don't see Scott. But you're looking? Not yet. You're right.
I've been done. Girl, that's good. Yes. Did you go to
Virginia.
It's the person who lives in the life in the camp.
How are you?
Yeah, I think he's going to. Watch your memory. You should put it there for that. Only you let him remember that you can put it on the outskirts. That's right. They let other people more intelligent, right?
There's something at the bottom of the screen. I don't know if that's in front of you.
They may be going to tell you, but.
No, that's just with my cursor. He's over here. And I requested him to join. No response yet.
He acknowledged
He did accept it.
the link, so yeah, so he knows about it. If he can't make it, he can't make it.
Okay. Usually they ding it thing.
He was pretty good about that. He just had bad internet last week. You want a book? You want your book before you go all the way?
Yes, please. Thank you, sir.
He use it.
I tried to read that.
Oh.
How you doing?
No bad.
No, I'm here. Sorry.
Well, I know, yeah. I was over. I remember the days. Your brother.
Was that another day? Yeah. Librarian.
What's that?
I found the packet space out of the other stuff. I don't have one. Take mine off again.
I got a background. Well, hold on, I can pull in my things.
She said.
It's the only thing that can.
Unbiased. Y'all meet no order? That. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Adam.
Thank you. All right, so tonight, first item up, I was hoping we could go through the third-party requests. And then, hit the library after we get the miscellaneous ones out of the way. I'll read through them real quick. I've got them separated from, reoccurring to then new ones. Under the municipal tab. All right, so the first third-party request is Seniors Plus. And last year they requested 2,000, this year they're requesting 2,000. Androscoggin Home Healthcare, last year they requested 500, but this year they have not made, we did not receive a request for them, but I left them in there, so they're a 0. Cancer Resource Center of Western Maine, they're requesting 1,000. Last year they requested 500, so that's an increase. And then Tri-County Mental Health, they're requesting 1,000. Last year they requested 500. So that brings the total of those those repeats, if you will, to $4,000, which is a $500 increase. And their paperwork is attached as well. New ones that we received, Camp Susan Curtis for 5,000. Sexual Assault Response Services for 1,000. However, that one can be removed. They sent us a letter that said that they got their funding from another source and they're recalling all their municipal requests. So that one can go. Kennebec Behavioral Health for 100. Life Flight for 1057. Oxford Historical Society for 3,000. I think we have somebody from the Historical Society here. TLEA for 2,500. And then Safe Voices for 350. Would you like to maybe go through the repeats and then once we solve that, we can put the new ones?
Sounds good.
So any thoughts on Seniors Plus?
Anybody ever seen it, bud?
And everybody was notified of the meeting tonight, so. Androscoggin Home Healthcare, is there anybody out here for them? Cancer Resource. 1,000. Tri-County. Didn't see it. Okay. How about Susan Curtis? And then we can go to Kennebec Behavioral Health. Life Flight. Well, I know this is gonna be a score. Historical Society, Rick.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, I think we're a vital piece of the town. I think we represent the town, and a lot similar to the library. We've never asked the town to support us before, but now that we are the official owners of the K House, as you know, the K House is in some need of some repairs. We have some fundraising activities planned for this year as well. But the major concern for us this year is the porch. The porch entering the house, not the where we have our meeting rooms, but the porch itself has a significant crack in it. And so with your help, I think, and the fundraising activities we have planned this year, I think we can accomplish getting that done before the end of the year. So we look for any support from the town that we can get. We're a nonprofit, as you know, a very small nonprofit. It's all volunteer. And, you know, we handle all the calls coming in for family research. I actively do all of that. We also, you know, make information available of the town, cemetery records, maps, things that people want to look at. We're open from April till October. We start our meetings once a month, last Wednesday of every month, from April till October. And our donations are down, as with a lot of nonprofits. So that's, hoping we can get the support from the town this year. We've never asked before, so we thought it would be a great opportunity to collaborate with the town and fix some things. Thank you.
And I will say that, Christian and Historical Society, they're pretty thorough in their information they gave too as well. Thanks. CLEA, anybody from our Thompson Lake friends? And then Safe Voices, I didn't see. All right. I'm assuming that you folks who want to do like we've been doing, will hear them all and then just set them all to the end of vote them.
Yes.
All right, so then we can move on to the library. So the library request this year is $48,028. Last year was $42,500, and you'll find a copy of the library request in here. Somebody from the library here to speak to the boards and give them the rundown.
Yes. Yes, thanks. I don't really know where to start. We prepared a budget to show you where we spent our money last year, how we spent money so far up to 23, and what we'd like to ask for next year as a result. We also are planning a fundraising event to help with maintenance of the keep of the building. So really the increase they were asking for is going to help us buy books. Is what we're in the business of providing to the residents. Other than that, I think I have anything specific. Okay. Thank you.
Did either of the boards have any specific questions for them, based on the budget they submitted and such?
I'd just like to make one comment. I want to thank the library board for presenting a detailed request as well as the detailed expense for 2023. Very much appreciated. Good job.
We appreciate the support, so thank you.
Are you all set?
Okay.
I see we had one person just come in. Are you with an organization? All right. Given the weather, I guess probably we should go back. Cancer Research requesting $1,000.
Yes.
Did you care to, if you're ready, I mean, we're ready to go through that. That'd be great.
Hi, has everybody here heard of us before? We're up the street, 9 Winter Street. We've been around since 2014. I'm Diane Madden. I'm the executive director. I've been there for almost 6 years now. There are 4 of us that work there, and we really help people all through Oxford County, the Western Foothills. We also help folks from Bridgeton and Rumford, all the surrounding towns of Oxford County. We write a lot of grants, and because of that, the money that we get from the grants, a lot of it goes right back to people. It's not, we're a very small lead staff, but we help patients with gas cards to get to their cancer treatments, food cards for food insecurity. We provide free wellness sessions for cancer patients and their caregivers. They can get 4 complementary therapy sessions a year. We also partner with both Rumford and Bridgeton Hospital and for Stevens, where we're located. We've rent space on their campus. So one of the things that I would like to share with you that we have about a panel of about 500 patients that we serve at any time. And 27 of them are from Oxford residents. And in 2023, we had 153 new patients, cancer patients, in addition to all of 205. And I could go on and on. But we also have just started offering mental health support via a grant we got working with Oxford County Mental Health. So we really try to address the basic needs of cancer patients because cancer is a very financially draining disease. And a lot of folks just really struggle with that. We don't have any kind of income level or criteria. We help everybody. Yeah, so, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from selectmen or budget committee? Right along. All right, that covers the third party requests. I'll jump right into the sewer. That was for you, Henry.
Gotcha.
Yep. These, do you want to join me up here, please?
You're gonna miss me next year.
What's this?
You'll miss me next year.
That's really bad. I don't order it.
No, I just wanted to take it out so I can flip it back
Sorry.
instead of my finger.
Doing so much. All right, so for the sewer, we'll start right at the top, like I've been doing. For regular payroll, we have $131,922. That is an increase of $8,111. That includes COLA as well as the merit increase. Overtime sees a slight reduction, bringing it down to actually $785, which isn't a large overtime line, but I'll get into why that's occurring. So the overtime is only for operator mechanic when called in, cover holidays and snowstorms, which happens pretty minimally. One of the reasons that is the case is when we go down to the on-call, which is for off-hour on-call for plant coverage. The on-call hours are split between Xenia and his employee for the plant. And so they receive 1 hour per day that they're on call. But one of the things that we ran into over this last year is that they were really getting burned out, couldn't be available all the time. So Julie, we have a woman that helps us with, she's actually doing the cleaning, funny enough, for the town office, but she also has some background in that as well. So she's been helping with some of the weekend, lab work, chemical stuff. So we've been able to utilize her, and we'd like to continue to do that. So that's why you see an increase to the on-call and part-time line, is to cover some of that expense. So how many hours is she on the weekend? Like 6, 5? 4.
4 hours a day,
4 hours.
4 hours total.
Per week.
And then when we look at benefits, Social Security, Medicare, those are based on the above. Health insurance, it's 2 employees. It sees a line of $32,664. That's an increase of $1,332. Retirement, again, that's for the 2 full-time employees. Based on the payroll and so forth, it does see a slight decrease of $57. But I mean, based on the percentages, I'm guessing that last year that there might have been a slight tweak or an error there because of obviously the increase in the rates. So workers' compensation is based on payroll, and that has gone down by $50 to $46.54. Electricity sees a pretty good increase. This is for the bridge crossings and the pump stations, as well as the main facility. Based on the rates, it sees $62,833 for an increase of $88.33. Telephone sees an increase of $428, bringing it to $2,856. That includes the landlines and the cell phones. And it's the 2 full-time employees that have the cell phones. Internet, slight decrease down to $1,800. Water remains the same for the quarterly of $68 for the sprinklers and $112 a month for the facility approximately, which brings us to $1,616. That's been pretty consistent. Propane heat. So I told you guys that the bids, we just got those this last selectmen's meeting. So the propane is the one item that did go up slightly from what we had projected in here. And what it's going to be $1.67 a gallon. And so from $1.41. So that brings the new total to $10,907 for propane rather than 9208, which is a slightly more increase. And I figured rather than print these all off, I would just tell you that, and then at the end, I'll give you guys a fresh copy, because last year you didn't like all the paper I threw in, so. Office supplies remains the same at 500. Equipment and parts, Xenia asked that we keep that at $20,000, as there's a lot of variables in there and unpredictable items. Chemicals does go down by $5,700, bringing it down to $4,500. And the reason for that is he doesn't need to buy one of the chemicals every other year, and this is the year that he does not need it. Gasoline, the bid price instead of $3.50 is actually $3.25 a gallon. So at $3.25 a gallon, 163 gallons will bring the gasoline line to $529. Diesel bid price was $3.43 a gallon. And I would like to leave that at $2,000 because it's 40 gallons a month for the running of the generator test. And then, it's a 1,000-gallon tank, but it's just 2,000 is not enough to run that generator, continuously.
I mean, the generator uses like 40 to 70 gallons an hour.
Yeah.
So like 1,000 gallons wouldn't take it very far.
I think leaving the margin is probably smart. But we're only talking a 7-cent decrease in the price per gallon. Software, we've zeroed that out as that's covered in professional service, or under operator license. It's later in your, I'm sorry, but we didn't need the software because that was for like Windows 365 or the Office 365.
So we are working on the town license now.
Yes, thank you. Professional services, that remains the same, 25,000. That's a lot of the contracted lab work per MDEP. We've broken it down to some of the pricing there. Dues, operator licenses for 2 employees, Maine Water, Environmental, all those add up to $305, which is a $15 increase. Training and conferences, we've rounded that up to $1,000, which is $100 total. They are required to have 18 hours of professional development training every 2 years. Mileage, we left that the same at $100. Mostly they have the truck to use. The electric car, the little Kona that's over there, we only have, the lease runs out in May, so it'll be the truck that they end up using from there. Building and maintenance remains the same at $3,000. Vehicle maintenance, which is the 2019 F-250 that I spoke of, we've increased that to $1,500. I believe you need to get tires potentially this year. Yes. Pump station maintenance remains the same at $4,000. That's 6 pump stations and 3 bridge crossings. In other words, the infrastructure that's not located at the plant. Sewer line maintenance remains the same at $3,000. And just to comment on the pump station and the sewer line maintenance, if those become excessive repairs, that's one of the reasons that we have the reserve account for the sewer departments. Sludge disposal remains the same at $9,100. The contract price that we have is outlined in there at the 13 cents a gallon. 13 cents a gallon comprises of both the transport and disposal. Safety, remains the same at $1,000. This is for PPE items. Licensing, the fees, an increase of $200, bringing it to $1,650. And then North End does see an increase of $4,600, and that brings it to $63,600. And the reason for that is when you look at the usage that we've had over the last year and you project that forward, there's just a slight increase of the cost down there. But keep in mind that the North End is all offset by billing, and we receive revenue there to offset that. So that brings the total sewer department total to $429,295, which is a $23,000 increase.
That's a question.
Of course.
propane price, even at 167,
Mhm.
it's significantly less than we're paying for the town office, which was at 221. Is the bid this year offering us improved terms for the town office propane?
That's right, I think you were here the other day. The bid for the town office tanks are owned by AmeriGas. And we did ask them if we could, buy them out.
Right, you mentioned more.
Yeah, so AmeriGas is, we're stuck with those. As far as that pricing, am I answering your question or?
Yeah.
We're stuck.
The sewer department owns the tanks.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what is the cost to change them out with another propane company?
Well, they're underground tanks.
Oh, they're underground.
Underground tanks, so I didn't even dig that deep. And they weren't interested in letting us buy them out, so
We don't have a contract with them, right?
with AmeriGas. No, we don't have a contract with them, but they own the tanks.
Nobody else can fill those tanks.
Well, what about
Well, I
putting
understand
it
it,
above?
but why can't we just put new tanks in? Above ground tanks, those great big 250s.
We certainly could.
Yeah. Have
And then
another,
buy its ones, and then if they buy the tanks again, tear them out.
We certainly could do that.
use up what's in there.
I mean, it seemed like you're holding your hostage.
And if they want them, they can take them.
25% increase.
How big are the underground tank?
1,000 gallons each. There's two 1,000 gallon tanks. if I remember. I'll get a price on that. I don't mind asking.
Because a lot of companies you do business with, they're gonna supply the tanks.
Yeah, but you save money if you own
Oh, I know.
Because you have to pay the lease.
Right.
Well, for the volume that we use, they may be willing to forego discounts or rental charge for their tanks.
And some of them don't charge you to do that. If
Right,
you, if you give them their business.
Even for the home. So, I mean, this would be a much larger kind of thing, residential.
I just don't want to get stuck with another propane company's tank either. Any other sewer questions?
What would happen? Is there any chance that you told them you're not gonna buy from them, if you could buy the tanks from them?
They won't let us buy them out. We asked.
That last year.
We brought it up last.
Yeah.
And I believe if you say you're not gonna buy from them and you stop buying from them, they will charge you the rent every month. That's how that works.
Yeah, but you haven't got a contract with them.
It doesn't matter, they can still charge you. If you're not using it,
If
because I know,
we're not buying off them, and if they, we told them we're not doing business with you any longer. You said those tanks belong to you. They're obligated to take those tanks out.
right,
And they can't charge you because he hasn't got a signed contract saying.
okay.
A little bit of homework for you.
Good times.
I just think you're trying to hold you hostage.
They are. I mean, they're always gonna pay more if they own the tank, a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I'm just saying they won't sell them or anything else, so that means you're obligated to buy off. I don't think so.
All right. Anything else for Z here? We got some capital items. They're pretty straightforward. So for Zennia, I'll hit the easy ones down at the bottom. Zennia would really like to be able to get a crane. He's got an estimate of $4,000. Can you explain what said crane would be for besides picking things up?
Well, we need to replace the one we have in the truck, was it's already cracking, steel is cracking. And we cracked the body, so we will have to build the plate like which will be attached to the frame, so it's going to be replaced.
That's to be able to pick equipment up and down out of the back. of the
Like
truck.
pumps, no, not only that, but pumps from the pump stations and stuff. Like from the white well. So it's like it's around 2,000 pounds, but like lift more or something.
Two of the other items on here are the general one, the treatment plant repair reserve account. And then the pump station repair account, so $3,500 for treatment plant and $10,000 for pump station. So that's a total of $45,000 to contribute to those two individual ones. The big capital request from the sewer department this year is the Pigeon Hill pump station, a generator to be able to run that. Zenya's got pricing of $61,500. to purchase that
Installation.
with installation, purchase that standby generator. Right now, correct me if I'm wrong, you have a portable generator that you circulate around with the pump stations.
Yeah, and it's pretty difficult because what's going on, we have different voltages, like one pump station will be 480, another one will be 277, like three phase, another one will be like 120. So we have plugs, every time we have to change that plug. That cable weighs what, like 200 pounds each, like, I don't know why they gave us like 200 amps cables. So it's kind of like less than convenient. And like, if something happened and we cannot bring the generator, like, we will have a spillage. And casino, I'm asking for the Pigeon Hill pump station generator because of the casino. Casino have their own generators. Their pumping station working on their generators. They have people all the time. I can't just call and say like, well, sorry guys, but you have to stop the operation. You can imagine that. So like, potentially there is like some grants. I haven't looked yet on the grants. But even like, I think you guys can talk to casino, maybe they will agree to pitch because it's in their interest.
Yeah. But it's the volume that's coming from
Yeah,
there.
it's
is why.
around 20,000 gallons. Yeah.
All right. So- Yeah. So we all set with the sewer.
So you're holding the casino.
All right, well, if we're all set with the sewer, we'll move on to the fire departments. Thank you. Thank you. So this is Ashley, the new fire chief. For those that haven't met her, she's really excited to be here. She loves budgets and can't wait.
She's a fun.
She can handle it, right?
Yeah.
All right, so the budget you have in front of you, I did ask her as the new chief, to take a look at it and see if there's anything that she wanted to tweak, change, or otherwise. She did make some suggested changes to the regular payroll line and the vehicle maintenance line. So if you guys are good, what I'll do is I'll blow through the whole thing here like we've been doing, and then we will touch on the payroll line, and she's got a good explanation that we can hand up to you and everything on that stuff. So the payroll line, the regular payroll line, I've got it marked at 722,000. She's requesting a increase of 18,000, which would bring it up to $740,404. Like I said, if you're good, we can come back to that and hash that out after the fact.
What is the EPL?
Earned paid leave. It's a state law thing where we gotta give part-time redeemed people sick time. The one thing I just caught by myself here is with that adjustment, I'm gonna need to adjust the SSI and Medicare. So I will make that adjustment depending on the results of tonight's discussion. Sorry about that.
Would you have to do roll retirement too?
What's that?
Would you have to go down to retirement too?
No, there's only one person in retirement. That's the full-time chief. Yep. So health insurance, again, that's for one person. So based on the one employee who's enrolled, that brings our health insurance line to 18,934. Retirement, thank you to town meeting for allowing us to do the special plan for this position. And that brings the retirement line to 8640. Workers' compensation sees a pretty significant increase, bringing it to $86,373. That's a $9,500 increase. I argued quite a bit. The lesson that I learned is that apparently, if you have firefighters and EMS workers, if the EMS worker even touches a fire hose, they have to be covered under the firefighter workers' comp coverage, is what I've learned. So therefore, that is the more expensive of the two. We only have one person who legitimately falls under EMS only out of the whole roster. So everybody's covered under the firefighter rate, which as you can see is more. And it is based on the payroll. Communications sees a slight decrease down to $3,955. This is everything from the Spillman licenses and Verizon costs. Spillman, for those that don't know, is their database that they have in the cars from dispatch to tell them where to go. Office supplies, see that remains the same at $5,200. That's their photocopiers, IT costs, services, and so forth. If you add those things up, they don't equal exactly $5,200 because we're allowing for some, call it the IT for services and help and so forth. Postage remains the same at $50. It's pretty minimal. Equipment supply sees a pretty significant decrease down to $10,000 even. It's just to purchase or replace lost or broken tools. As you can see, the description is some examples of some different things, but based on usage and the condition of the equipment, we felt comfortable reducing that. Clothing, right? This is uniforms and such, remains the same at $4,000, excuse me. Immunizations and physicals, this sees a reduction of $2,000, bringing down to $1,500. Basically, what we've been doing in the past is we've been budgeting to give everybody their shots and everybody their immunizations, but really our department, as I was educated, is actually most of the people that work here work somewhere else. So they come to us with most of those things already. So it was a little excessive to be doing all of them. So we thought that was a happy medium to notch that back to $1,500. Rescue billing sees an increase of $6,000, bringing it to $21,000. Medical billing is outsourced, as we've discussed in the past, medical reimbursement services. The fee is set at 6% of the amount collected. And we did reach out to Sean at Medical Billing Services, who gave us the projected amount of $21,000. Medical supplies sees an increase to $17,000. That's a $1,000 increase. I mean, and that is just based on the cost of supplies and what we're using. Gasoline. So gasoline is the tricky one. So the one fuel that the company did not want to bid on was gasoline. And the reason for that is they said the gasoline market is too volatile and they didn't want to commit to anything. So I had used $3.50 a gallon as my projected rate. When I went back and I've looked, we've been all over the map this last year with gas. So I mean, I would be comfortable dropping that down to maybe $3.25 a gallon. But I'm also open to opinions from everybody around the table as well. I think $3.25 is safe. I get a little anxiety when I start thinking about going below $3, just because it just seems like that's a great way to shortchange ourselves.
What did we do on that gasoline, did you? Because Dead River didn't give us anything on that, right?
Right, so I reached back out to them and I asked them what if they would commit to anything, and they said that they would give us today's market price. And so she was supposed to talk to their salesperson, and she's going to be getting back to me with whatever today's market price is. So
Well, see, I'm
And never even come back.
I never came back.
yeah, we didn't get a bid from them or anything.
I
So,
didn't talk.
but I figured that if Dead River treats us all right, then that makes sense. We're getting it all from them. But if they try and gouge us, I'm happy to call CM Brown too. So we're not any obligation there. So. Diesel, the the bid amount was $3.43 a gallon. Based on the 4736 gallons, that brings us to $16,245, which is a little bit more of a decrease than shown. Community events remains the same at $500. Membership dues, we've reduced this by about $900, bringing it to $1,500. We've broken that down: Maine Fire Chiefs, Tri-County EMS, and some other small professional organizations. Training and conferences is increased to $5,000. That's an increase of $1,000. This is to send send the firefighters up for, different professional development, experiences and so forth. With the new chief and some other changes, I agree, an increase here to make that available is important. Professional services, this sees a decrease of $2,000, bringing to $15,200. We've broken that down. This is everything from the scheduling programs to the I am responding, also the certifications for the life packs and the stretchers, and so I can go into more detail if you'd like. But that totaling all those up brings us to the $15,000 mark. Equipment maintenance is a $15,000, which is a $1,000 increase. This is preventative maintenance for all the fire and EMS equipment. We've broken some of that down for you in there. Vehicle maintenance. So this is one of the other items that the chief would like to see a increase. Last year it was $35,000. This year, Sean and I discussed dropping it to $30,000. The chief would like to bring it back to $35,000, just given the age of the vehicles and being a little unsure of what she's inheriting. So I'm not feeling real argumentative about putting it back to where it was last year, basically. So the request is $35,000. Radio maintenance remains the same at $45,000. So with some of those tweaks, some of the decreases, that would bring us up to closer to $1,060,000. And let's go back to the payroll piece.
I want a vehicle maintenance. Something we, we were talking at one time, doing away with one fire truck and a small rescue fire truck. What happened with that?
It's funny you should mention that. So we had discussed getting rid of the third ambulance and then engine 5. Was it 5 or 4?
Oh, sorry, 4.
4. Engine 4. So those, at the last selectmen's meeting that was discussed, there was one member that felt pretty strongly against, and we never made a final decision on that. I
thought we wanted your chief to look at that in her first couple weeks and make her best determination whether she thought we could part with either one of those vehicles.
We had, yes, you're right. Yep, we talked about looking at it. That was a possibility. I don't know, are you prepared to do that tonight or?
Sean has all the numbers ready, and I do agree with what.
Yeah, there's the rescue in there too.
Yeah.
Computer.
Yeah, rescue 3 and engine.
Oh, I mean, I'm assuming this would affect that maintenance line
I would agree
in
with you.
particular, so the budget committee is willing to listen to Sean's recommendation.
I heard it the last time we were here. I was in agreement with it. I don't know about the rest of the board.
That is the.
That's right. Yeah. It was that first meeting you were at.
So the quick explanation is that the town has 3 fire pumpers right now that carry 1,000 gallons of water, and they have a fire pump on them of at least 1,250 gallons per minute. The honest answer is we can't staff that amount of equipment anymore. Engine 4 is one of the older pieces. It is more tired than the other trucks. And this seems like an appropriate time to reevaluate our organization and the fleet that we carry. And as such, the recommendation was to remove engine number 4 as well as the ambulance 3. Ambulance 3 was slated to be retired 4 years ago when we bought the newer ambulances. Through a series of events, that never happened. But I think it's ultimately a good time to make that decision now. One of the select board had asked to run some numbers, so I ran a couple of years data here. We do use 2 fire trucks about 30 times a year. And in 2023, we used all 3 fire trucks 3 times a year. The thing to think about with that statement is, did we really use them, or did we just utilize them to bring staff to the fire? The honest answer is, and this is an anecdotal statement because I don't have any way to prove it to you, but with full knowledge, at least one of those trucks is used strictly to just bring people to the fire. We don't need, most of our fires are done by one fire truck. That's the way it kind of is nowadays. And most fires are contained by one fire truck, sometimes more, and again, sometimes two, but almost never three. And if we did need three, every single building fire that we have in the town of Oxford automatically gets Norway, Paris, Mechanic Falls, and Poland automatically. And then, of course, if it's anything on the opposite side of the lake, it gets Otisfield, and obviously it could be Hebron covered from the other side. So we have great mutual aid partnerships and confidently can say that this would not affect business or protection as we know it today. It is simply a reevaluation of the situation of the fire service today. We've had 3 trucks in this town for over 50 years, back when we had the woolen mill, and quite literally 20 people would come out of the woolen mill and jump on the fire trucks and go. That's just not the case anymore. So I think it's an appropriate time, before we get into the conversation of having to replace engine 4 with a new pumper that is going to be in excess of $800,000. I think this is a great opportunity to reevaluate and say, do we really need it? And my professional opinion is that we do not. And the same answer would be for the others.
And there was also talk of a lighter duty fire truck,
That's what,
for camp roads and stuff, because the big ones can't get down to the manual.
Yeah, that's correct. We would like to ask for support for a smaller fire truck, like a F-550 type size chassis that has exactly the same, actually even a little bigger fire pump than is on engine 4 now. It's actually a bigger pumper, as far as what moves the water, that just carries less water. But this would allow us to get into the camp roads. Right now, almost any of these camp roads that we go into, we're scraping the big fire trucks. And sometimes we're hitting mirrors, sometimes we're denting things. Not significant damage, but it is minor damage every time we go in there. It's very tight, and we can't provide proper coverage.
What's the pump capacity of engine 5? How
Engine,
much is it?
engine 5 was an 80-gallon per minute pump. We've actually removed the pump in the water from that truck. Again, this was an attempt to extend the life of that truck. That truck is a 2003. That weight is, well, it's obvious, it's tiresome to that truck. So we have removed that in an attempt to elongate its life. And it's like a brand new truck out there. It goes just fine. So.
It's like right?
Yes.
They've been using it as a utility truck.
And that
So-
mini pumper would replace engine 5.
But we were able to do some other things that inevitably lead to cost savings. So for instance, and again, this is minuscule in the scheme, however, it's important, is we had a dumpster out back that cost $80 a month. Obviously a recurring account. Now we have the ability to throw the department's trash, the police department's trash into that and take it over there, and we've been able to eliminate that. Now, again, that's not mega bucks, but it is moving towards an appropriate direction.
And cones and barricades, like the last several storms we've had, we can put those easier in the back without a pump and not having to ask Public Works.
But weren't you thinking of taking that vehicle, and turning it in towards where you talked about, the access to the lakes on camp roads?
I think that can be talked about. It all boils down to what will you get for it versus, the cost benefit. And that's one of those things. If your manager wanted to put that on municipal bids as well, I think that's something that we can do. See what we get for it, and then make a decision from there of it is beneficial or it is not beneficial.
And that's something that we did bring up during that discussion, was the thought of putting the rescue and the engine on municipal to see what we would get. And if we're just gonna get tiddlywinks for it, then obviously we're not, it's worth keeping the ambulance as a utility truck if we're only gonna get $5,000 for it. But whatever we do get from these trucks, I think we should take that money and put it in a reserve account towards the purchase of this mini pumper that's being discussed.
I guess I want to clear up some, because we talked about a regular engine replacement being 800,000. That mini pumper is more 350 to 400,000. So we're talking two separate replacements kind of all in one conversation. So ideally, we would get rid of Rescue 3, Engine 4, and then Engine 5 would be out as well once the new mini pumper arrived. So we're talking almost like a 3-for-1, but initially we just want to get rid of Rescue 3, Engine 4, and then obviously we shouldn't get rid of Engine 5 until that truck, because obviously it's not like you go to a dealership, we have to order it, it takes time. That process takes time. It wouldn't be done all at once.
And one could make the argument, you already have these vehicles, why get rid of them? They cost money to, obviously, maintenance, gotta change the oil in it, things like that. So there's a cost there. Again, we're not talking massive, but, the maintenance on the fire truck regularly is in the $1,000 range for oil and grease and lube and all that jazz. That's the regular yearly reoccurring. Plus, it's about another $500 to $800 for the testing of its pump. There's some more money in there for the testing of its ladders. These are all things that would not need to happen if we remove that vehicle from service. The guesstimate would be, we'd probably save about $2,500 of reoccurring tests for that vehicle. As well, the ambulance has license fees. The cardiac heart monitor on that is no longer able to be serviced. So we would have to come to you and say, hey, we need a new $38,000 cardiac monitor, which we can't straight face say to you. So that there's a tremendous savings as well. And then the ambulance bed, stretcher that has to be serviced. Those are all savings that could be had.
The other question I have is if you're gonna take them out of service, why would you keep?
Wouldn't.
Thank you.
And wouldn't you be looking for more money right now if we get rid of them, then it would be like 2 years down the road? Something more valuable, something more valuable now than it would be 2 years down the road.
Personally, I think so. As I stated in the first, especially with the ambulance, right now, if someone was to order a brand new ambulance, it takes 4 years to get a brand new ambulance today, if you order it. So there are towns out there that may have had an accident, may have had a massive failure of an engine or something of that nature, who may be in a bind and looking for, that ambulance is still a good truck, it's got a good motor, those kind of things. It's just past its due for us, and we don't need 3 anymore. So there's a very good chance that that vehicle will net us some money. Again, I have no ability to say it'll be, I think it's gonna be less than $50,000, and I think it's probably gonna be more in the $10,000 range, but I could be surprised. I have no idea.
If there's an appetite for that, like I said at the selectmen's meeting, I think we should put these on municipal bid and see what we get.
Great.
And then, let them be on just like the pickup, the old Coke truck. We're gonna post it for 30 days and see what we get.
Recommend having that on the agenda for next week.
Before we post it? Or do you want me just to post it?
Well, we can't really vote tonight. It's not a selected team, right?
It's a selectmen's budget committee meeting. That's how it was posted. I think if you guys want me to post them and then I bring them to you for results and you guys decide whether or not to award the bids would be.
What's the attitude of the budget committee?
What do we got below? We're not required, when we put that on there, we do not have to take exception, correct?
Correct. You have a right to refuse any of the bids.
That's the reason I asked the question I did. If we're gonna take them out of service, why do we keep them? I don't see what we're offered for them. That's something you people make the determination. But if we keep them, then you gotta continue the service.
If you keep them, they just lose value continuously.
Right, you use them a lot.
Losing value, we're paying a ton of money essentially for them to be.
Sit there to make-
Do we have to have a engine at North End Station? For fire
No,
insurance? Fire-
you don't have to do anything. We don't have to have that. There is no strategic benefit when you look at ISO, the insurance ratings system. They do not specify the number of trucks you have to have. It's a complicated algorithm, but it goes through, you get points for each of these things. So you get points for how much training you do. You get points for how many fire trucks you have. You get points for how many fire hydrants you have, and so on. So if you drop from 3 fire trucks to 2 fire trucks, we will lose 0.08 points in the whole scheme of things. That will not touch our fire rating. That will not touch your insurance. So that answer is really no. I have all of that if you want to see it.
I don't want to see it. Answer my question.
But to take it a step further, you looked at that, was a 5-mile radius?
So it's, we can also, as part of that whole schematic, mutual aid counts. So for instance, any fire department where their station is within 1.2 miles, 1.5 miles of our town line counts, so long as we have written agreements with them. So we have written agreements with Norway, Paris, da, 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 da. So Norway's fire station is 1.2 miles away. So when we have a fire, and you have to dispatch them immediately, which we do all this already. So those fire trucks all count. So I was right, there may not even be that minuscule of a drop, because we can add those in which have never been counted.
And the other thing with the ISO rating, at the time of the ISO rating, our training hours weren't able to be calculated. So if we were to, which now we track, if we were to credit those hours, it could potentially make up those points as well.
Thank you.
So if we're gonna go this route, which I think is an exciting discussion, would the boards like to see some potential pricing on a mini pumper? Or is that a conversation for the next cycle?
We haven't gone over the capital improvement yet.
We have not. And it's not in there. So,
I think we've got a good idea of what it's gonna be, and whether it rates or not, probably depends on what these vehicles might go for.
okay. All right, do we want to go over the payroll before we get to capital?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's
So-
go one down before we get.
How many do you,
I have one.
well, then, why don't you hand them that way, and I'll hand this way, how's that? This, so I can have the capital.
Watch me discount. I already found I missed that. Print this one, my discount amount.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's fun, John.
I know,
It's interesting, but my stomach's growling. I'm not reading. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're lucky.
So, like I said, so the projected, as you can see, the breakdown on the budget sheet was 722,183. And the new chief's request actually is 740,404. So some of the reasons for some of these increases with, what I was proposing there is, based on call volume and so forth, and based on the average rates, but I'll let Ashley just jump right in. Are you comfortable?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the average rate in your budget book is 23.77. And the more I looked at who was actually working here during the day consistently for this month, for next month, as we all know, there's 4 people. That is a very low average. That would be for almost new employees level. Days that we have 2 firefighter EMTs on the chart you see with 5 years, a captain basic or a lieutenant who's an advanced EMT with more tenure here. Their rate obviously drives that average up quite a bit. And we typically do have 1 to 2 officers. Some days we even have 3 officers, or everyone's an officer here, just based on the availability that people put in. Obviously, this isn't everyone's full-time job. I'm the only full-timer, so we can't really change people's availability. So if we went with the average that was in your budget book right now, I know that I would already be over budget for payroll next year just because it's an accurate number. So as you can see on the sheet that we just passed out, I just gave an example of what an average day looks like, which is where I got the average of 2450. And then I just redid out each line that you see in your budget. So I did the rescue per diem, that line shows a $12,755 increase. If you look at the 2 fire per diems, which I'm now covering a day, so that's seeing a little bit less of an increase. But it still would be a difference of 5,466, which, like I said, for the whole line would be $18,221. So it brings the overall increase, as opposed to the 9.6 you see, it would be 12.1 increase. You guys have a misprint in yours, sorry, I crossed out the budget. But anyways, so that would bring that total to 74404. This way, I feel like I'll be more set up for success in managing that line, as opposed to, like I said, that the 73-cent increase for the average, which is just more realistic of what we have working here. You know, we try to prioritize paramedics and advanced EMTs, but obviously we pay them more than basic EMTs, but that just provides a better service for our citizens.
Basically, you're just giving us a realistic number.
Yes.
So in her defense, yeah, when I average out with payroll, I'm averaging it on based on the average payroll, you know, the average of everybody. I think she's taking it a step further and taking it to more of a realistic of who's actually working and what their rates are. So I think you're probably seeing a more realistic number with that angle. So I think it's good work.
So that next week we'll have the updated.
SSI Medicare.
That's workers' comp too.
Yeah, I'll look at all those, and I mean, those ones are not gonna be huge amounts.
And I know that it's a big increase. I'm not trying to do anything when I just started. Like I said, I just want a more realistic budget to work within. And I think that the average is just low based on who works here week in and week out.
We move on to capital, Ashley.
Yeah.
With the recommendations that are coming from joint session this evening, do you feel as though that your vehicle maintenance needs to be increased to 35, or can you live with 30?
I have a couple, you know, I'm waiting on 2 truck tires. We're waiting for July 1 right now, kind of for a couple of things that we're already holding off on. We are at 96 or 97% in vehicle maintenance right now. We have such an aging fleet that I really do think it needs to be 35,000. I would love to say no, but even with what we have out there, you know, some of these trucks are 30 years old. Things happen.
Hey, look, we can't wait anything.
All right, so when we look at the capital, it is pretty minimal. We have something we started years ago. Air packs, buying 5 a year. That's $5,250. You know, $5,250 to buy 5 of those. We've been doing that. We started doing that every year so that we can just cycle them through before they expire. There's 44 bottles total. Turnout gear, getting 2 sets this year. Now, because over this last year, the short version is the selectmen had to make a huge purchase of turnout gear to replace turnout gear that was defective. Now that has happened, it actually caught us up. So we, instead of doing 4 sets a year, we had discussed doing 2 sets a year and just continuing with that cycle. So those 2 things together is $13,750. What you don't see in here is the discussion about said mini pumper. So if that's something that we want to talk about, then now probably would be a.
From my perspective, I would request that the town manager take a look at, I know we're not gonna be able to probably put it in this coming budget. Maybe something we'd have to look at, maybe 25, 26. In the budget. I don't know if
We could put some money aside.
Yes, we could. But
I mean, would that
We
make
have
sense?
to, because if you look at that budget line in 26, 27, 25, 26, and 26, 27. $750,000 on a fire truck. And all in one year, when we're not asking for any money this year. Probably we need to try to smooth that out a little bit.
So one of the challenges, and I've said this before, and I'm not digging at anybody, or digging at myself, we have not been saving money for these big purchases. We just haven't been doing it. So, it's tough because we've got a lot of other capital purchases this year from other departments, and when you start adding all those up, we're talking some real money. So, I don't know if it's realistic. I've never actually, looked at lease purchases of mini pumpers. I don't even know if that's a thing or not. I know you can do it with equipment. I know you can do it with, ambulances. I don't know if used pieces are something we want to start talking about either. I don't know if the mini pumper is the right truck to look at as a used, but I mean, I think we should put all things on the table. But $750,000 is a lot of money, and I wouldn't be surprised if that continues to go up, so.
Okay, so I see you've got, sorry, Paul. I was gonna ask if you're looking at 350,000 or so, and the feeling is that you want to try to do it this year. Is there funding in the reserve fund to support this?
I don't believe there's that much.
Okay, just ask, it's wanted everything on the table.
But again, depending on what the other two vehicles might sell for. I mean, if you're only getting $10,000 or $15,000 for the two of them, you get 50, that's a bigger chunk.
I think that's realistic. I think if they're gonna be, I mean, we'd all love for them to go for a lot of money, but I don't think realistically they will. I think Sean's right in that estimation of 10,000, you know.
Especially for the.
And just to add another layer of complexity here. Just like everything that's ordered now, it's at least a year out. So if we ordered this truck today, it's a year out. If we put, and I don't have that specific number, but if we were to put a 10% down payment down, we could at least get the truck on the line. That puts it into the budget year of 25, 26 before the payment is due. But we would need the blessing before that happens. That would, regardless of whether you approve all the money today, I know it's not today, but if you approve all the money or not, we still have to wait a full year. So if we get the blessing and at least get it in the process of build, that at least, because if we wait till next year, we really don't see it until 26, 27. So.
And that's adding ages to, you know, as the other trucks are still aging.
So you get 100,000 on there for rescue vehicles for 25, 26. So they're talking
And the ambulance.
450, 500,000.
So one of the other things that Ashley's been asked to do is, I've asked her to be working on, and we're just not ready yet, there's a lot there, is I want like a state of the fire department, if you will, you know, and that's an evaluation of not just the personnel, but the building, the equipment, the trucks, everything, so that this plan can be, shall I say, more thorough and realistic for next cycle around.
Because some of these numbers, if you were looking at a new truck, like the new engines coming off the line right now are $800,000 conservatively. So the 750s a placeholder, you know, like different, like I know a new ambulance right now, Poland just put 2 on the line and they're $400,000 each. And those are 3 to 4 years out. So truck prices, just like everything else, are extremely high.
I see you have budgeted for 27, 28, 300,000 for pump 5.
So, yeah.
If we get pump 5 now, that goes away.
Right.
Correct. Yep. And right now there's 350 to 400,000.
Have you, have thought about, the last meeting we discussed about hiring a guy that would write grants?
Yep, I've actually reached out to, Mr. Sterling, and, he will be coming to meet with me, not tomorrow, but next Friday.
See if there's a way that he can find out about earmark. Because there's some earmarks that come in at, buying fire trucks for other towns.
Sharon, you keep, sorry.
That's okay. I would really like to see us really consider every year putting money towards. I think every one of these lines, these boxes need to be filled in with an amount to work toward the year of replacement. So that the year the truck, the vehicle needs to be replaced with, we're at that point. Determine what it's gonna cost today and what it's gonna cost in the future. And every one of these boxes need to be filled in, whether it's 50,000, 100,000 or whatever, to get us to where we're going, so that we're not looking at purchasing or appropriating 750,000 in 1 year. I think we've got to make the decision now to start and budget every year for these replacements so that we have the money when it's time. Years ago,
We did.
we
You
did,
used to have an equipment account.
yes.
Yeah, but that's what I.
And it stopped. I don't know when it stopped. I don't know, but it stopped. And that really is the most efficient way to do this. So I'd like to see us work toward that goal at some point.
They're ready for us next year, right?
Of course. And the other thing, when you do order a truck, don't you normally have to put a down payment down to order that truck that you're going to ask for in a few years?
Well, as Adam alluded to, there's a number of different ways you can do it, lease purchases and stuff, but one of the ways that does save you some money, I'm sorry, I don't know the exact amount, because we did it with this one out here, the newest one, is we paid for it all up front, which got us a 20% discount or something like that. So that's how things are sometimes done, depending on your revenue sources and whatnot. So, but there are numerous different models that could be utilized if that so chose.
So be it under 50,000, it's pretty nice.
I don't think that's gonna happen anymore, because they can lead turn the 4 years out.
And
They don't have
sometimes,
to,
like with the ambulances right now, I know they paid for the chassis and that held the cost of everything else. Until they're delivered, so there's different percentages or different ways of doing it depending on what's the hot commodity at that point.
Hearing the discussions and all where we headed eventually, I would recommend that we put in the capital expenditure part for the fire department and rescue, $300,000 towards looking at a replacement for engine number 4.
5.
Five. And how much?
5, you're gonna replace up those
You want to
4?
replace 5 and just get rid of 4 for
Okay,
good.
well, I put it as 4, because 4 went away, so
Yeah.
replace it. That would be my recommendation for this coming year. They give you $300,000 that if you can get the vehicle, let's say after July 1 or whatever the case may be, that the money, at least almost all the money there that you need. I'm not one to increase budgets, trust me. I'm always looking for negative numbers.
Miracles do
Are you
happen.
feeling okay, sir?
No, as a matter of fact, I am not, but that's beside. No, I understand, the necessity of having to replace equipment. And to Sharon's comment, I remember years and years ago when I was on the budget committee, we always set money aside for police, fire, and rescue.
Yeah.
Always put money aside for them, every year. Rather than having to go out, in the highway, we did the same thing with that, rather than having to go out and spend mega dollars, we had some in reserve, so.
I know that it was 2 years ago, maybe 3, that I thought we voted on anything over $1 million that comes in from the casino was gonna dump off into capital improvement. What happened to that?
So,
Pretty sure we just voted to keep it going like that this last year.
And
so right now, the
Myself included.
casino money right now, we just crested 1.6 million for casino revenue. And I think it was 2 million was the amount that we,
well, it was 2, okay,
Yeah.
excuse me.
You're right, but it was 2.
yeah. And, so yeah, we just crested. So if all goes well, holding my breath, based on the last 3 quarters, we should probably get to about 2.1-ish million, coming up. So I mean, that's a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
So am I understanding correctly, $300,000
That'd be my motion
is your,
from the budget committee. With the second.
Yeah. Overall,
Oh, yeah, but I'm gonna put that down to be there when we do the overall.
okay,
So just a quick question. So is it essentially just moving up the 300,000 from 27, 28? So we're not necessarily increasing the budget, we're just celebrating, right?
We're making an adjustment to the, correct. To
Yeah.
the next fiscal year.
We have a motion on the floor, do we have a second?
second.
Second,
Henry.
Adam, did you have something you want to say before we vote?
No, sir, I just was clarifying for Wendy, she was that.
Okay. All in favor of accelerating 300,000 from the 2027 to 2024? Vote. I would hate to have a new fire chief staff behind the 8 balls.
I do have one item, reference, not in reference to that 300,000, but in reference to capital. Mr. Hunter is apparently having connectivity issues. He asked if I would share, he would like to request that no action be taken on the fire or rescue truck issue regarding the engine 4 and the rescue 3 until the next selectmen's meeting. So wanted me to share that with you folks.
Yep, not Irish.
There's always have to understand somebody.
Where we stand.
We'll be talking another Thursday, right?
Yeah, so if you want me to wait to post it on Municipal, I will, and if not,
There was.
I'd start the ball rolling.
Yeah, so
How do you feel?
if you have the ability to post that equipment without the select board's approval. feel free.
I feel
If you need
comfortable.
the select board's approval, I believe it needs to be done at the selectmen's meeting, and the selectmen need to vote.
I
I
feel
think it's
com-
appropriate that we vote tonight.
Agreed. I feel comfortable posting things. I, however, do not have the authority to dispose of mine. Okay, right. I need the selectmen to give me permission to sell it. So, fair enough.
I would say feel free to post it. No vote is needed.
Do you think that you guys think it's a fair to the weekend?
We can, keep going to.
All right. So, did we already get all the good? I already have it. Don't worry about it. You did send to me. Now you say that. Thank you very much. All right. Do we have any other questions about fire?
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Take a job.
I want to see that. I've been looking for it. Can't get in for 4 years. Make sure all of them see that. I've been looking for an ambulance. You can't get in for 4 years.
Yeah. They're rich down there.
Last one's dead.
I know how they operate. now.
So there's a couple of small administrative ones. You want me to hit those next?
Yep.
So why don't we go to debt next? Henry's, yeah, good.
I'm at the end of my book, and I don't have to back start all over again.
I've got debt and then the municipal tab, the rest of the municipal
Yep.
tab. So we'll do debt because we just mentioned it. Debt's frankly pretty straightforward. So this year for debt, we have the new town office at 92,505. It's the same payment every year. We've got to the TD Bank, the road bond. This payment is 412,790. I've got the amortization schedule in here for that. I think we're getting pretty darn close to the end. Got one more to go. The ambulances are paid off, but the way I have these structured, I couldn't dump them off yet, so those are still zero. And then we have the sewer and water line. As you know, the TIFs, the Route 26 and the Walmart TIFs pay a major portion of those, but we do need to make up the difference and leaving that the same at 45,000 for the sewer and 90,000 for the water line, just to be able to make up the gap of what the TIFs don't, create for us there.
Is this the next to the last payment for the water line?
Now, the water line's got a ways to go. Correctly, I've got that in here too. Water line, you've got 2 more after this, excuse me.
Okay.
27. It's the sewer that's got a good way to go.
Yeah. I'll be long gone by the time we get that piece on.
That's positive thinking.
It is. Let me pay for it.
So that sees your total debt payment for this year of $640,295. Then, if there are any questions on that, let's grab general assistance on the way by. General assistance sees an increase of $6,456. That brings the line to $14,256. How we base that is we base that on the average number of applicants we have a year over this last year and the average amount per applicant. So it's about 88 GA applicants were served over the last year, an average of about $162 per applicant. And so that brings us to the town's portion of $14,256. And we do receive, so this amount is after the 70% reimbursement from the state. So average cost per the town per applicant is $162. And then we'll go back to the municipal tab. Right here. All right. So under the municipal tab, the first is the insurance. This is the town's liability insurance. You do see an increase of $15,799. That brings the total cost to $104,799. There's a couple of reasons for this. One is that the liability insurance that we had previously didn't provide it wasn't thorough coverage. There was a lot of things that weren't covered that under Maine Municipal's coverage is covered. For instance, as an example, under the old coverage, a police car gets wrecked, it would cover the chassis, but it wouldn't cover the equipment in the car. Under our new coverage, the equipment in the car is covered. We've also had a couple of claims over this last year, one being a police car, and some other damages and so forth that have happened. So based on those is why you're seeing that increase. Let's see, the animal shelter. The animal shelter sees a $300 increase. There's a letter in here from the animal shelter regarding the rate. It's $1.45 per capita. Based on the census, which was 4229 population, brings us to 6132, and then plus about $800 to handle strays. Got a lot of stray cats. Fire protection, got that line at 2340. That includes street lights and the traffic light at Pottle Road. So that brings us to 2340, which is a $220 increase. Maintenance for streetlight maintenance and repairs. I talked to Sharon Chamings in finance a lot about this one, and we went back and forth, and we both agreed that based on what we've been seeing for maintenance costs, the $2,000 should be sufficient for that, which is a decrease from before. Water, this is the quarterly charges for hydrants. We're seeing 63,100. I had to follow up on that. And unemployment, based on claims and payroll 3-year average, we're leaving that the same, 2169. So the municipal total is a little bit of a misnomer depending on what you folks decide to do with third-party requests. If you were to fund all of the third-party requests that are listed here, you'd have a municipal total of $246,375, which is a $33,000 difference. If you didn't fund any of the new third-party requests, you'd reduce it by $13,000. Let's see, so that gives us debts, PA, municipal. Did we talk about the capital request for administration? I don't know if we talked.
We did.
The cemetery under admin. So, because the capital for admin was pretty straightforward, it was, $5,000 for cemetery maintenance, which we do regularly, that's for stones and other repairs and such. And then I was requesting $10,000 to be put into the Thompson Lake Dam reserve account as we continue to deal with that fund. But I think there's about 50,000 in there, but I think we need to keep contributing to that as well. So I think for admin, I'm just kind of trying to catch up on myself. We've covered police, highway, fire rescue, public safety building, talked about rec, general assistance, transfer station, sewer, municipal debt. But we do have revenue. Would you like to hit revenue tonight as well? I've got a handout for you, hot off the presses. All right, so for revenue, I do take a general 3-year average approach with a lot of my revenue projections. I just feel like, you know, you can get into the meat and potatoes on some of these if you want, but I found that usually is the most accurate. However, there are some exceptions on this. If you look at the first one, excise tax, the 2021 year was an abnormal year. If you remember, everybody's buying new cars like they were going out of style that year.
Pre-COVID money.
Yes. So we had over $1 million of excise tax money. That's insane. I think to include that in the average of what we're expecting and projecting this year is probably not wise. A more average year is in the $800,000 to $900,000 range. So if you look at last year and the prior, you're looking at an average of $887,000 for projected excise tax. I think that is a much more realistic. Otherwise, you're skewing it over, you know, well over $900,000. Another place that you'll see building permits in 21, 22 that crested $100,000. That again was the result of some abnormalities with big solar fields, big projects that were happening in town that skewed it. So again, projecting 51,889, and that's based more on in talking to Kingston what he's seeing with growth, as well as the average of the other two years in the last 3 segment. Recycling, again, I think the 21, 22 was, there was that COVID clean out or something or whatever. People were just, I don't know what people were doing, but on average, we are under $40,000 for recycling revenue. So looking at a 34,820. Another one I want to note is the casino revenue. And going back to COVID, on the COVID year, it was just over $1 million. Which, if you all remember the conversations when I first got here, that was the first year that we just really had a hard time with our with the revenue stream that year. But since then, we've crested $2 million each year. I put 2 million flat in there as a projection. I'll admit that with casino money, I just feel really conservative. I think that we're shooting ourselves in the foot if we count on too much. So I put $2 million in there for that. The rest of the ones that you see, they are in the average of the last 3 years throughout. So I can go into more detail if you want. Oh, one other thing, bank interest. I talked to Sharon Chamins in finance about that. We are seeing a huge increase this year in our bank interest, and that's because interest rates are a little crazy this year. So thank you for that. So
What is that, LRAP?
that's the local road assistance program. That's a thing through Maine DOT. I usually get tongue tied on that one, so thank you.
You did well.
Any other thoughts on revenues? Oh, there is sewer, excuse me. If you guys. Nope, you got sewer on the back one. When I ran the reports, it was on 2 pages, but on this one, it is on 1, excuse me. So you've got your wastewater and your north end sewer. All right, any other, let's see, so that covers the revenues, that covers third parties, so I believe, so my homework that I'm feeling like I have for the next selectmen's and budget meeting is we want some options and potential costs. I still try and get that regarding the mini pumper. I'm gonna also update Social Security, Medicare, workers' comp, and the fire budget. I'm gonna look at the cost of potential new tanks of the propane at the town office. And I know I've got some other notes for some of the other departments mixed in there too.
Really wants to. Wire and telephone numbers are all over, it's been department to department. It's crazy.
You don't like our phone numbers?
One department pays $150 a month for a cell phone, and another one pays $50-something for a cell phone. Or a landline. The sewer we did tonight was $150 for internet, $150 for phone line. Both through Spectrum.
So some of them, we've been going to that, to Cove Central, which has helped kind of mediate, but I can double check with
I
that.
mean, these are $150 a month. It's not that big of a deal, but I don't know why we don't look at just
We use the same,
contract with one provider.
So we started looking at that. We started looking at having the same phone provider. So like Cove, that Cove sent the voice over IP that we have here, we have at the police, we have it at the town office and rec. What's great about that is it's consistent, it's all one system. So if you call Kingston Brown in the code office and they say, oh, actually, I meant to talk to Kayla at rec, he can just do a quick transfer. It's like we're in the same building. But the highway department and the transfer station, for instance, because of the internet connectivity stuff, they couldn't put them there. So that's why you see some of those changes, some of the inconsistency there. So, but.
And I can relate to that because I called that him about that yesterday.
Yep.
I don't know.
Dig further if you'd like. It's just something we've been working on. Anything else from anybody?
Take a motion, I guess.
Wait till adjourn.
second,
All in favor? Same time, same place, bring back channel.
Thank you, Andy.
That,